Welcome to Binge Theory, the coolest corner on the internet. I'm Julian, and with me today we have Logan.
Hello.
And Eric.
Hello.
And we're going to be discussing, what is this, episode 4 or 5? Episode 5. Episode 5 of the ongoing series called The Mandalorian. This one is titled The Jedi. And, gentlemen, right off the bat, I was waiting for this because it has one of my favorite actors of all time, Rosario Dawson, and just so excited with what we saw here. But let's dive right in. I want to make this a shorter episode because we tend to go on a little ways. So, let's try and get this under an hour. But first of all, Logan, because you're our Star Wars expert, our de facto Jedi master, if you will. Mm-hmm. Please tell me your thoughts right off the top about the Jedi.
I thought it was fantastic. The introduction of Ahsoka is something I've been waiting for since we heard the rumors, and since I saw her in the end of the second half of season 7 of Clone Wars. It's just the character making that jump from animation to real life and everything that potentially brings with it has just been a source of never-ending excitement for me, and it lived up to it. It definitely did. Few little nitpicks here and there, of course. There's always something, but Rosario Dawson did a fantastic job, and just to see Ahsoka on live, it was just amazing.
You're not wrong. And Eric, what were your first thoughts of this episode, The Jedi?
I loved it. I loved everything about it. It was great. Obviously being a big Kurosawa fan, there were a lot of nods to Kurosawa and kind of the Japanese influence and that sort of thing, which Favreau has made clear that he wanted to go to the inspiration that George Lucas found when he developed Star Wars. It was just, the imagery was beautiful, the stunts were great. I really enjoyed it. One of the best episodes so far.
I am so glad that you brought up Kurosawa. And for those that are, true Binge Theory fans, the hardcore fans, know that we actually did a Yojimbo movie review a few months ago. And one of the things we were just going over and over was Kurosawa's flair, his cinematography, the way he, conveys story. Mm-hmm. This was such an homage. And I saw that, and I was thinking of you, Eric, when I saw specific scenes that were almost verbatim what had happened in Kurosawa. Even the point where Rosario Dawson dressed as Ahsoka Tano. Tano's her last name.
Yes.
And when she's walking towards the and I forget her title, but it's Morgan Elsbeth. Yes. She's walking towards her, and she literally has, yes, the magistrate. Thank you. She literally has like the flowing cover up, almost like you would for what's it called? Not a kimono, but a gi. Thank you. Yes, and it was just almost shot for shot the same way. And even when she went into the magistrate's place, it was like a Japanese garden. So it was so steeped in like Eastern cinematography and culture. And again, anything that has to deal with, sword wielding Ronins is right out of it. And I like how they made her essentially a Ronin. There are so few Jedi left, kind of like samurais. And And to go to Logan's point, and then I'll hand this back to you guys. That opening scene where they're in this, just ghostly, dark, drab wooden forest with lots of fog and mist, and the choreography of the fighting scene where she's dual lightsabering and just taking them out in guerrilla fashion, I thought was some of the best sword play I've ever seen. Better than a lot of the movies. Definitely better than the first three, but I think it was just amazing swordplay. And again, Rosario Dawson, a lot of people don't know she has a physicality to her because I believe she was a classically trained dancer. So she has kind of that lean physique and a lot of dexterity. And I'm sure they had, stunt people doing the harder end stuff, but she could hold her own with the physicality. That was my thought. First scene out of the gate, jaw dropping, and I just loved her portrayal of her. I had a few things that I wanted to throw out there and get your guys' thoughts on. And it is official. We have a name for Baby Yoda. It's Grogu.
Grogu.
Groger.
Grogu.
What was the name? Grogu. What was the name? What was the name of the mutant in Total Recall that was growing out of his chest? Oh, geez, it's going to kill me. It'll come back to me. But okay, what are your thoughts on the baby's name?
I think it's better than Yiddle.
Oh, wasn't that the female Yoda?
Yaddle was the female. So I was just picking the other vowels that hadn't been used yet. So it's better than that.
The name was underwhelming to me, but at least the baby now has a name that nobody will call it because it'll be forever Baby Yoda. Nobody's going to call that baby Grogu. And I did appreciate how Baby Yoda, almost like a dog, turned up and looked when he said the baby's name.
Yeah.
Is that's all you know, you 40-year-old baby? You just know your name at this point. And again, I still get caught up on that thing about, the Baby Yoda being, pretty much middle-aged at this point, but not in Yoda years, but.
No, and not in reality years either, because, Yoda was, 950, something like that. So really, Grogu is that young, and I can't imagine the kind of trauma he would have had to endure anyway if he was a child training back before the Jedi first fell from the prequels, and then was used to having all the Force readers around him and being able to communicate with kind of thoughts, and then take him for at least a decade and basically have nobody be able to communicate with him, and he can't communicate with anybody. That's beyond a traumatic event. It's not even dropping somebody in a foreign land, because after 10 years, you would start to pick stuff up. Like, you've got no communication at all. And then to have, run into Ahsoka and finally be able to talk and communicate and hear your name. I can't imagine what it would be like to hear that for the first time in so many years. It's got to be intense.
And you brought up an excellent point with the communication. I thought that was brilliantly played, and even just acted out with just the facial recognitions and the nods. Where they're
not overdone, but not underdone. It was just a perfect amount of heartfelt, communication. It was wonderful.
It was, and that I so much appreciated, because Baby Yoda seemed, and I joke about the baby's age, but because the baby had obvious things that it wanted, and it would say, okay, I want that cookie, even though you're telling me I can't have it, I'm going to take it. And the same with the silver ball. And so the baby, it was crafty beyond that of just a small infant. I did find it interesting that, Ahsoka was talking about how Grogu had many teachers. So, there had been, and I don't know if that's just because of, Jedi handing off to Jedi, or just like how, and Logan, you're probably, more familiar. How in human years, how old is Grogu? in actual years? Because I'm just thinking, if he went through many teachers,
probably close to 50 in human years. I believe they mentioned something around that in season 1, because when they had the chip that he was originally commissioned to take, it was a 50-year-old or something like that. I think they said, and that would be about right, especially for that kind of a slow developing, species that he's always been kind of portrayed to be, being that old. And he would have had many teachers because, I mean, thinking back to episode 3, he would have been in the crowd of kids that Anakin Vader would have slaughtered, except for the fact he was taken away at some point before then. So he would have been with all of the other force-wielding students. He would have had all the different Jedi Masters coming in as teachers. It would have been that kind of community raising of the students in order to prevent the one-on-one attachments that can lead to kind of the fear and corruption, like happened with Anakin being too late and having that attachment to people and individual people and fear, as opposed to just a child who was raised with kind of a community of Jedi.
Do you think that Grogu will make reference to Anakin Skywalker? Or is that too much?
I think there would need to be a reason why he would call out one of the many teachers that he would have probably had during his time in the actual Jedi Temple. I think it's more likely he would reference, if he was going to reference anything, he would have referenced a Yoda or an Obi-Wan or a Qui-Gon or a Mace Windu. He would have referenced one of the other, or Plo Koon, any of the other teachers who were there, because Anakin didn't spend much time, not compared to some of the others anyway, there teaching younglings.
True.
So I don't think there's a reason for it. But yeah.
Excellent point. Eric, what do you think about the portrayal of Lang by, I'm sure, an actor that we all love, Michael Biehn?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Almost forgot he was in there, didn't he?
Yeah. I was like, wow, that guy looks so familiar, and I had to tap into like my previous science fiction geekdom, with Aliens and Predator and that era of time. But yeah, no, he was great. He was great. Obviously it's a how do you say, it's a nod to the earlier science fiction days. And I thought he did a great job. I mean, I liked how he they gave him a good moment there, to talk and kind of say, oh yeah, I think your guy's winning there, or oh, maybe the other guy's winning now. I thought that was kind of clever and funny. So I was glad that they gave him a little his little moment, but he was unremarkable.
I'm glad you said that, because again, I have this dilemma with a lot of these actors where I'm really pulling for them. I mentioned this in last week's episode with Gina Carano and how I wanted her to find something that would work for her. Unfortunately, now I find out that, socially I may not ever think of her again, but that's another story for another day. And anyway, Michael Biehn, which I first became familiar with in the first series of Terminator. He was Kyle Reese. And then more so, I enjoyed him in Tombstone as Johnny Ringo.
Okay.
And of course the Western, I think a lot of these characters that they get is because they, not so much that they're pigeonholed into a certain character, but people remember them from a certain character.
Right.
And the same thing that we had with Timothy Olyphant, where he was in that series where he played a marshal. I forget the name of it, and also he was in Deadwood. Justified. Thank you. Yes. So he plays the gunslinger either in Deadwood or in Justified. And the same thing with Michael Biehn playing Johnny Ringo, kind of an outlaw, cowboy in Tombstone. And of course, here's the one thing. I also really liked Michael Biehn in The Abyss. I don't know if you ever saw
The Abyss was wonderful.
Yes, where he played a Navy
That'll have to be a
SEAL.
future episode.
Yep, I'm down. We gotta go through all of them. And Michael Biehn, I saw something online where somebody was saying that Michael Biehn was, it was on John Campion's podcast. It's a good podcast, but watch this one. Don't watch his, watch ours. Anyway, he was talking about Michael Biehn, how big of a fan he was of him, and he said that Michael Biehn should have been the leading man. He should have been the Brad Pitt of his age. And that's a little much. He doesn't have. He had a definite look, a rugged, good look about him, but he was not a matinee idol in that respect. But it did seem that he kind of fell off. And I remember seeing like footage of him at some of the Comic-Cons and things like that. And you feel for the guy because his career kind of stalled out. I'm glad they brought him back into this, but Eric, you hit the nail on the head as usual. I'm going to get a little nail graphic that'll pop up every time you hit something. But yeah, underutilized, underwhelming, under meaningful. I did like the standoff when the Mandalorian kind of kept him at bay, so Ahsoka and Morgan Elspeth could have their duel in the Japanese. It was basically like a water garden instead of a rock garden. It kind of reminded me of Kill Bill, where Lucy Liu fought Uma Thurman. Just that kind of a picturesque scene, and then they have a fight. This is one thing I want to throw to you, Logan.
Yeah,
I did not know that the metal Beskar was lightsaber proof. I was not aware of that. I thought it was obviously laser proof, but not lightsaber proof, because the spear that she was wielding was lightsaber proof. Right. Without a doubt.
And we saw that too when he fought Ahsoka before she, stopped and chatted with him too. Yeah, I mean, it's a very, there's a reason the metal is as valuable as it is in that universe, and that it becomes a little bit of a MacGuffin, that it can do whatever it needs to do. But it's not as flashy as a lightsaber or a dark saber or other kind of, some of the stuff. So it becomes a MacGuffin that slides under the carpet a little bit better.
Absolutely. No, it's, I'm beginning to like more and more about this whole Mandalorian, as they're building them out. Yeah. And I want to go back to Eric's observation, Kurosawa and Yojimbo particularly.
Yes.
That's the only film I saw, so that's going to be my point of reference. And I believe it was something that you said, Logan. Oddly enough, it all comes together when the Mandalorian went into a village. It might have been 2 episodes ago.
It was episode 1, and
episode 1, and we were talking about the reaction of the village people being forthcoming, whereas sometimes they're reserved.
Yep.
This episode,
was the go in, close your doors. Yes. Exactly.
Very much like Yojimbo. It reminded me so much of that scene where he comes in, because it is a town under the thumb of a tyrant.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. And I think to piggyback on your underutilization of the actors too, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more, even more than we did see, of the fight between Ahsoka and the magistrate. I feel like there was a lot more. I mean, there was enough in the episode that's probably why we didn't see more of it. But so what is her name? Diana Lee Inosanto, I believe, is the actress's name. Also happens to be Bruce Lee's goddaughter.
What?
Yes.
What is this? I mean, is this like a friend of a friend casting? Because you got John Wayne's grandson. And you got.
That's how Hollywood works, Julian.
Yeah.
Is that so?
That's not a nepotism, man.
So because
all about it,
because I'm the half brother of Sandra Bullock, I can get and,
you got your own rom-com for the holidays, just waiting for you.
Exactly.
But yeah, I would have liked to see a little more with that. Her presence, even just talking to Ahsoka in the opening from the balcony, and kind of the fear of her around was so commanding. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that go on in the battle, because I think she could have, I don't know, would have just added more to her power. And to some extent too, I don't think we saw her die.
No.
So
Let's talk about what happened right before the last scene, because that I'm sure it was as though I heard 1,000 nerds scream out in pleasure and then silenced at once.
Well, you know, and it's funny if you're talking what Ahsoka asked her.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again,
yeah.
we're all.
I don't talk back. I don't yell at TV. I don't talk during sports things. And I was so convinced in my head it was going to go one way, and she said that, and it was literally like a 10:30 p.m. What the holy? Like I did not see that coming, though I should have, knowing all the history and everything of Ahsoka that I do. But wow.
Now, Eric, and again, you Logan, I'll let you go ahead and reveal the final dialogue between Osaka and the magistrate. I wanted Logan to say it because he's so much more.
Oh well,
yes.
No, it was just so I was 100% convinced she was going to say, "Where is Moff Gideon?" Because I thought that's where they were tying the stories in. So I'm expecting that. And she goes, Thrawn, Admiral Thrawn, like, okay, that's an entirely different thing. This is no longer a connected B story. This is a backdoor spin-off pilot to Ahsoka goes searching for Ezra Bridger and defeats and battles the remnants of Thrawn. Like, okay, that went in a whole different direction than I thought. This isn't an AB tied together. This is a backdoor pilot.
Are we talking spinoff? Is there going to be another Disney? Because Rosario is A-list in my book. I would build a film around her and her character because it's
so
or is there something?
What if they're trying to Avengers this?
Why not?
Mandalorian started it. You have a Bo-Katan spinoff on Mandalore. You have the Ahsoka spinoff going off for Ezra, and then you pull all of them together in a Defenders-like series that goes ahead and is essentially, you know, a 6-8 hour Star Wars movie on the Disney Plus kind of thing.
Wow, jeez. We're opening up
because really
here. Now remember, let me just throw this in there. The guy who kind of got this whole thing started is who? Jon Favreau, the guy who did Iron Man 1, who started the Avengers.
Oh, are you saying he's the genesis of all franchise?
Perhaps.
My
just to piggyback onto what Logan was saying, I know enough about Star Wars that I know who this Thrawn guy is. I read the book by Timothy Zahn way back in the day about this character. And so my mind was like, when that happened, you know,
that was back in
opened up a whole new world of possibilities, you know. And I'm interested to see where they'll go with that. I just want to put a disclaimer out there, because I think earlier I had said that Michael Biehn was in Predator. That's a mistake. That's not correct. I kind of lump all of those that James Cameron universe into one. And so he was not in Predator. Aliens, The Abyss, and Terminator was where he's at. So just forgive me in the comments section.
Yes, you can send all your hate mail to and Tombstone. So yeah, he had some. I would say he had some. The only one he was kind of the star and co-star was in Terminator, and kind of a co-star in Aliens. Sorry, I was about to go there.
Right.
As well. And kind of a coast. So he's now that I'm thinking about it, he's never been the leading the leading man, yes, but he's never had his own, feature with it.
Probably not in anything that went straight to the screen, right?
Yeah.
anyhow, but I don't want to get distracted from this golden nugget that we've got in front of us with Admiral Thrawn. And I learned a little bit more about kind of his abilities and stuff like that, and that's very fascinating. So,
if I can, I mean, I'm putting it out there that I'm the least knowledgeable about this aspect of the Star Wars universe. But what I do know about Thrawn is just from internet chatter, etc., is that he is a brilliant tactician, and in a environment, the Empire, which is inherently racist and specious, at least at that time, him reaching that level of rank was almost unheard of for a non-human and non-male. I think they were very sexist, and it sounds like, no, I'm not going to go there, but let's just say the Empire had some very, retro ideas about who can ascend to power. And Thrawn being in the position he was so much more impactful because he was not human, and that's literally all I know about Thrawn. Please fill in the blanks a little more for me, like if there's any backstory or really interesting details about him that the fans out there should know about, since his name has been just dropped like an A-bomb in the middle of this series.
You want to take this one, Logan?
No, go for it.
Oh, geez. No, I mean, I don't really have a lot of information. I kind of had to remember some of the things about him, but apparently, I mean, I kind of associate him to like, what's that? Goebbels, I guess. Nazi, one of the Nazi generals,
Oh, jeez.
just an incredible tactician. I think of, and I might be mixing my names up here, but whoever was in the desert in World War II, the kind of general that could just see everything from above and know where to put this ship and where to put that ship and put these guards over there, and he's just got everything figured out.
That's not Goering, is it?
Say what?
That's not Goering, is it? Or Goebbels?
Man,
I'm so bad with my Nazi history. I'm sorry.
Geez, yeah.
But
yeah.
And yes, but Eric, I'd say rightly so. I mean, obviously this pulls heavily from I mean, literally they have soldiers called stormtroopers, and they throw on those jack boots, and they do have some pretty cool looking uniforms. So I am, it's, for lack of a better term, they are space Nazis. So
yeah.
So literally a blue man.
Okay, Rommel. Excuse me.
Rommel. Yes. No, that's a good observation. I do want to talk about the training or the testing of Grogu's skill set. With the levitating, because everybody knows that the Jedi is literally making rocks move. That is one of the cornerstones of Jedi skills, is moving rocks. As Rey would tell you. when Luke asked her what the Force is, I don't know, you make rocks move, and so that's it. And they tested baby Yoda Grogu by making rocks move, and he did not. But Rosario Dawson said, connect with him, connect with Grogu, and he had the little gear shift that baby Grogu. I'm gonna just call him Baby Grogu from now on. # Baby Grogu, and that was a good moment where he got little, to make the ball float. So,
and even just to see the pride that he had in him doing that, like, I knew you could do it. Like, that was very, a lot more animated and fatherly than I think we've ever seen him, as opposed to, here, kid, eat a bowl of goo. Logan, that was a little more touching.
Are you saying that the Mandalorian and Baby Grogu were playing catch?
I am saying they are playing the Star Wars version of father and son catch.
That's exactly what it was. It just dawned on me. Oh, it's like, that is it. Why is it so? Yeah, because they're,
And if Han just would have done that with Ben, we never would have had the final trilogy.
Oh, too soon. Is that what Adam Driver was saying when he basically was going? I was like, you never played catch with me.
You never played catch with me, Dad. Just throw a ball. No, you were too busy with the rebellion. Couldn't throw a ball.
There it is. So that's the lesson we learned is, play catch, and you can prevent the Empire. But, and for the just to be clear, the mutant that I was thinking about was Kato. Guado in Arnold Schwarzenegger's Total Recall. Mm-hmm. It was a character that was attached to somebody, Guado. It was not pretty to look at, and really bad puppetry, even for the late 80s. But he did have psychic ability, so maybe that's I'll leave that up to you to discuss. And to your point about the fighting skill of the magistrate, I would have liked to see more of that as well, because remember, Rosario Dawson, Ahsoka Tano said, don't underestimate her. So I would assume that she would have done some flips or some, because Rosario was bringing it out in the woods, like some really good maneuvers, high jumps, things like that.
Oh, yeah.
And this was
a lot of those moves in the opening and that she did in the woods were almost shot for shot reminiscent of a lot of her signature moves that she would do in Clone Wars and Rebels. So, you had mentioned kind of her swordplay and the fighting style, and it's like, oh, I've seen that before, but now I see it in real life, and it's so much cooler, but it's like the same moves that she would always do in the animated series. And I think that fight with the magistrate was the only area where I take a little bit of a nitpicky play with the performance, in that when they were squaring off, there was, again, in for whatever the hell this is worth, my estimation, too much uncertainty and lack of confidence in the portrayal of her kind of pre-fighting stance. She hiccuped and hitched a couple too many times, whereas, especially at that point in her life, Ahsoka has always been a lot more calm and centered, and or even just still and cocky, depending on what she was dealing with. But there was just a little too much hesitation in her squaring off against the enemy that made me feel like she was second guessing things a little too much, and I felt that was out of character for Ahsoka. She'll lose a lightsaber, she'll do whatever in battle, but she'll always kind of bounce back and readjust. But she's not going to hitch and equivocate that much to start the fight. And that was literally the lengths I had to go to find something to, pick on with just the overall performance. And it was just, it's not worth mentioning, but it was the only thing that I could see.
That is a good thing, though. If you have to think to find a bad thing, then it shows that it was, of high quality. I watched it a second time just because I wanted to go back and write some notes down. The opening fight scene in the forest, they did such, and you don't really even notice it at the time because you just see like, it's a little cliche, but the picking off one by one, but the play that they had with the smoke and the mist and how she was vanishing into it, and you have to watch it a second time and kind of just shot by shot how they were doing such just great choreography and great effects. Again, this is like movie quality, if even on a slightly lesser budget. And I really appreciate it. I still regret that Michael Biehn and the way that Michael Biehn went out at the end was fine, but it was like to Eric's point, it was forgettable. And I
think it would have been a lot better if he didn't do the typical "I'm going to telegraph it just before I do it" kind of garbage. Just do it. And still die, but you'll die much more respectably.
Exactly, and maybe even a parting word. I know that's again cliche, but kind of like an admiration from warrior to warrior kind of a deal. because he did say something before that. I forget what it was.
Mhm.
I think he said this is their fight, or I don't even care, or something like that. Because he was kind of just a hired gun, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, his comment where they're facing off, and I don't think I've ever heard that line to defuse that kind of face-off tension before, where it's, there are things worth dying for. We were both hired. This is not worth dying for. And I
Right.
think actually having that kind of a, guild, not really guild, but, hired to hired kind of respect and stuff, and being able to actually turn and just walk away from that would have left so many more interesting open doors and more of that code among thieves type thing that plays so much in the nostalgia of, Han Solo and the Assassin's Guild and all the different, guilds and memberships with their rules and all the different stuff. It might have gone farther to further that kind of mystique of those organizations in the show.
It would have been nice for him just to, say, "Hey, I'll see you around," and then just disappear and say,
Maybe next time we'll be on the same side.
yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds me of a scene from Iron Man 3, where Iron Man is, taking over the Mandalorian's, lair, and he
You
comes
mean
across
the Mandarin's lair?
the Mandarins. Yes. Oh, wow. Thank you for that. Yeah, the Mandarin's lair, and he comes across one henchman, and he just has him outgunned, and the henchman just throws his gun. That's like, dude. I don't even like working here. These people are so weird. And he just walks away. And I was like, yeah, that would have been cool. I will say, however, Michael Biehn, now that I'm thinking about it, he dies in every movie. He died in Terminator. He died in Aliens. No, I'm sorry. He didn't die in Aliens. He was just horribly scarred. Died in The Abyss. But in Tombstone, again, gunslinger, when he went up against Doc Holliday, and I'm assuming that Mandalorian would be Doc Holliday in that scenario. He's slow on the draw.
Yeah.
So, there you go. Guys, I love this, and I want to make sure that we all get our last thoughts in on it. Logan, what do you think is the future based on all these new avenues that have opened up, the character introduction of Thrawn, and just how you think we're going to be approaching episode 8 down the road? Because we only got like the 3 episodes left until the end of the season.
I know, and that's the wild thing, because I thought this episode was going to be the turning point, kind of connecting the Moff Gideon storyline through to the characters that are going to play a role in the end. And I'm beginning to completely second guess that at this point, with, now seeing Ahsoka and pulling out Thrawn. I mean, doesn't seem to be playing into the Moff Gideon storyline at all. So if she's not, then there's no guarantee necessarily that Bo-Katan is. Unless, Mandalorian, or, he has to happens to have her on speed dial for oh, hey, thank you, it's my turn for a favor now, and, episode 8 kind of thing. But I don't actually have a clue. It sounds like if he's going to go to this Jedi temple to see what, Grogu can reach out and contact or not, then Moff Gideon's going to follow him there. Because he's got the tracker placed in his ship from when he was, kind of side questing with what's his name, Cara Dune, and blowing up the research facility. He got the tracker in his ship from there. So I guess my twofold question is, one, is there any kind of wake of destruction where Gideon's fleet is coming behind him to every place he's been to try and do anything or kind of burn the bridge behind him? Or are they just tracking him and are they going to end up, being more of a fight at the end at the Jedi temple, and it's going to be more Force stuff than we're anticipating? I don't actually know where we're going now, because I don't know how many of these shows are backdoor pilots as opposed to actually playing into A or B storylines.
Very true. All possibilities are open, which makes it much more exciting, because
yes,
I was concerned that they were following a very predictable route.
To have a serialized story where you don't know where they're going, but it's still this entertaining and riveting and enjoyable, it's an awesome thing.
And anything that would make Logan curse at the screen has the seal of approval. I can definitely establish that. Eric, Kurosawa, Westerns, cinematography, all of it. What are your thoughts on this episode? And do you think we've tapped into a new style of cinema, episodic viewing? I mean, obviously this is Kurosawa's, heavily influenced. Do you think they should keep doing this, or only in certain realms they should do it and go on to other kind of genres as they proceed?
No, I think they can move on. I think they've rung the proverbial Kurosawa bell enough. I think I get the point. I did like the the lightsaber battles and stuff like that. So yeah, I think we're good on the Kurosawa. I mean, obviously, if they wanted to do it more, it would be welcome. And also the gunslinger element. I think that's kind of becoming a signature of the series. Really, with the kind of walking down the tumbleweed main street, and the townsfolk, scattering about and stuff like that. I mean, it's kind of a signature of the series at this point. I wanted to touch on a couple things just as far as final thoughts. The one thing, we got a Jedi speech from Ahsoka Tano. Those don't come along very often. That kind of moment where you're receiving this wisdom, from the Jedi, and that was something that was very. I really liked that a lot. It brought me right back to the original 3 Star Wars from Lucas. Those kind of very philosophical type of speeches, So I really appreciated that. And then the other thing that I wanted to leave or just note was, just the notion of the wall and the burned out exterior, this kind of isolationism that they're kind of hinting at, for this fortress, and then the rest of the earth is scorched earth type thing. I found that to be interesting. But yeah, no, it was a great episode, one of my favorite episodes, and I could do without the actual name that they chose for the child. I would have been just fine not knowing the name for many more episodes. And those are my final thoughts.
That would have been like a nice ender, like the end of it. And, where Sarah said, why do you keep calling him kid? His name is, I'm going to give Baby Yoda a better name. I'm going to call him Dobie. There.
I think so too.
Yeah. I mean, it's Grogu is, but hey, I'm not trying to.
Well, that would have been such a nice kind of button for the second season, right? Because you got the image of the Mandalorian at the end of season 1. You got to see his face, and then at the end of season 2, you would get to know the Baby Yoda's actual name. So yeah,
exactly. I'm Julian, script doctor, MD, and that stands for movie doctor. And that's that's what I say is they should have waited for the reveal of his name at the end of the second season. I want to go back to, and we won't belabor this, but you were talking about the Jedi speech.
Yes.
And I do love, I'm a little foggy on the details of it, but I did like how she mentioned about this baby is too connected to you, and that will hinder the overall skill of the Jedi, because attachment leads to jealousy. Jealousy leads to the dark side, as old Yoda would say. So I really appreciated that, and because that's kind of their religion is no, you can't have these emotional ties, because that triggers all these other things, and it cascades into the dark side. You have to be kind of devoid of all of these possessions, including emotional entanglements, which they all seem to lie about anyway, because, I mean, obviously Obi-Wan was very emotional when Qui-Gon got, stabbed, and obviously Luke was, doing his own Anakin was doing his own interpretation of Jedi, when he was trying to hook up with Padme. And, it seems like people are just interpreting things on their own, and none of them have even read the old Jedi text anyway. We know nobody's read that. Luke didn't even read those, and he had them for like 40 years.
Ray read them all.
Yeah, Ray put them on the Kindle and just burned right through them. But yeah, Eric, was there something I missed? Because that's what I do remember slightly about her speech, but maybe there was something else she was putting out there that I want to go back and look into.
Gosh, I mean, I'm a little foggy on the actual content, but it was just how they kind of they framed her in the image, and it was one of those Jedi moments, where and that is something that's kind of new to the series, right? I mean, we've had these kind of outside characters, but Star Wars has always been very much about the Jedi, and then to have an actual Jedi on screen who's very skilled at what she does, and that is both physicality as well as philosophy, right? There's two pieces to it in my understanding of the Jedi. And then just to have her speech talking, again, I only saw it once, and it wasn't necessarily the message that was really resonant to me. It was just like, oh, wow, we've got a Jedi speech here. Whoa,
and you're 100% right. It wasn't necessarily, the historic, context of what you're saying, but the fact that, because again, we haven't seen any Jedi in this series. So to have like this mention of them, like, oh yeah, the Jedi is this old, religion, of wizards, and then to meet one and have them just, stating some things matter of factly, like, no, this, baby's too attached. And trust me, I've seen what happens, hint, hint, when attachment leads to the dark side, and then, then next thing you know, you're wearing a helmet and a respirator. And,
And I mean, I think that might be one more little place to nitpick, is that I didn't feel her, or I didn't see kind of that gravity of, that happened to my master. She was the Padawan to Anakin Skywalker. So if anybody should be able to, talk about not feeling emotion while feeling a hell of a lot of emotion about being, losing yourself to the dark side, she should know it better than most people.
Yeah.
And I think I love too in that speech that she, and this is kind of an interesting way, I think, that they're retconning both presentations of the Force, is that she explained word for word, exact same words Obi-Wan said in A New Hope. An energy field created by all living things is what she called the Force. So it's interesting to me that they may be trying to retcon the whole midichlorian thing by painting it as a dark and light difference, whereas the responsible use of the Force, so to speak, is just, it's an energy field and it's something to be kind of respected and whatever. And the bad guy way of looking at it is there has to be something quantifiable here that I can take and exploit. And trying to maybe portray a divide in the explanation of the Force that way. But I was very, very interested in hearing that, kind of using those exact words that I talked about 2 episodes ago when they were talking about the M factor when they blew up that research facility. And or was it even just last episode? Maybe even just last episode.
Yeah, but
no, it was 2 because she okay.
It was the cavern run they did.
Yeah. So they talk about M factor then, and on this, and now it's the back to kind of the more traditional Force explanation, and putting them both in the same show, I think, is an interesting way to deal with it.
I definitely think they're trying to not to use the M word. However, the fact that they were trying to siphon out, Grogu's blood to get that makes me think that it's almost like a genetic disposition of tapping into something that's out there. So maybe you need the Force is out there, but your blood, like you're Jedi positive.
I mean, and that it worked. There's some Dr. Frankenstein level stuff going on out there.
Oh yeah. So I would say that yes, it's out there, but you're probably more able to tap into it if you have this rich blood. But maybe it's not a prerequisite, but just kind of like a leg up. Mm-hmm. That's where I'm going with. And to that point, to wrap it up, my final thoughts. Of course, we're setting up another journey for the next episode, because since she would not train Baby Yoda, she is sending him on a path to an ancient Jedi temple. And what is the name of that place? Tython is where she's sending him for the Jedi temple. And so that'll be the next leg of the journey. And we'll see what happens with that. I seriously doubt that he's going to put Baby Yoda on the pedestal and Baby Yoda will reach out to Jedi. And I think, Baby Yoda is going to stay with Mando until, the end. And it'll be pretty sad. It'll probably be the end of The Mandalorian. And by then, Baby Yoda will probably be 60? I don't know. But a 6-year-old baby. But it's, I'm interested to see where they go with the character introductions and the new journey. And because, he can't just keep going looking for Jedi to pawn this baby off of. There has to be a conclusion to it, somebody take my Jedi baby, please, one of those kind of a deals.
And there is a very, very short list of Jedi trained individuals left in that universe, so I'm not even entirely sure who she was thinking might respond.
Right. Yeah. And she was not really of any help. She just said, go here, somebody's out there, maybe, and apparently the baby will just know. Mm-hmm. The baby will just, you plug in the baby and then the baby signal goes out. Anyway, great episode. I'm with you guys 100%. I thought this was a great episode. I liked Rosario Dawson. I liked her physicality. I liked her makeup. I thought the makeup played. Mm-hmm. And again,
she looked the part 100%.
Exactly. I still have an issue with a lot of, a woman of color being basically different colors of blue, green, and now orange. So, I mean, because I keep thinking of from, of course, Avatar. We had, what's her name? Wow, this is awful that I'm forgetting her name.
In Avatar?
Yes.
Zoe Saldana.
And of course, in Avengers, she's, green. Mm-hmm. And Rosario Dawson is orange. So, maybe just have a black lady.
She's her natural color in Star Trek.
Oh, who's in Star Trek? That's right. That's right. Yes, with her earpiece. Yes, that is true. Again, that's Roddenberry's sci-fi. I'm talking about the Star Wars sci-fi. Not a lot of black women. Just work on that, Favreau. Work on that, please. Mm-hmm. Anyway, gentlemen, as always, a pleasure. Everybody out there, we really enjoy doing this. We're going to be bringing a lot more content to this channel. This is something we enjoy doing, but we're going to expand, improve, evolve. So we want you to stick with us. We want you to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. You need to do both, because just like a baby Jedi having the midichlorians and the Force, they both need to work together. So you need to hit the like button and the subscribe button. And as always, we appreciate your indulging us with this show. And be kind to one another, be good to yourselves, and remember, if it's worthwhile, it's worth binging.